Neville Goddard's revision works, but of course, if you don't believe it's doing anything, then you won't keep doing it. And if you don't keep doing it, of course, it can't create change. So today we're going to be explaining what actually makes it work neurologically, which is very exciting.
In my studying Neville, it is all about imagination. It's what Neville has preached. So what are we saying here when we're saying that it's not it's it's not just imagination?
Great question. Funny you should ask that, Steve. Um, so, so yes, of course, Neville talks a lot about imagination, and it is imagination, but it's not just imagination. And the reason I particularly felt really um, excited about doing this topic is because using Neville's revision technique is one thing, so you use it
Mhm.
and you give it a good go, and it works for a lot of people. However, naturally, for most of us, the thought comes, but is this just imagination? Is this actually doing anything? So what I wanted to do is lay down a very strong foundation for you, rooted in physiology, so that when those doubts come up, where you would normally go, oh, well, it's not worth doing, or I'll do it later, or it's not really working, or it doesn't work for me, instead of all of that, you have very specific points. And we're going to give you 5 very specific bullet points at the end to remind yourself of whenever you feel doubt, whenever you wonder if it's working, whenever you feel doubt. Whenever those thoughts come up, those negative thoughts, you can remind yourself of those 5 things and take a screenshot of them, and that will help you be more consistent because you'll know that it's working. You'll know there's more to it. So imagination is a physical thing. We think of imagination as airy fairy because we can't actually physically see anything, but that's only because we can't look inside our own brains. If we could open our, well, this is just a gruesome thought, if we could open our heads and look inside our brains, as we have a thought, any thought, so certainly imagination, as we have that thought, that is physically connections in the brain. That's neurons connecting in the brain. So imagination is a physical activity. It is not airy fairy. So as you imagine, when you revise a memory, as you imagine it, you are literally physically changing your brain. You're changing the physical structure of your brain. So in addition to everything Neville taught, so in addition to the unseen, the invisible, energy, manifestation, all of that, in addition to that, there are actual physical processes going on that can root that for you. So when we change a memory, we are literally changing patterns of connections between neurons in the brain. So when you have those thoughts, oh, but is this really doing anything? Is this really is it just imagination? Remind yourself, no, it's actual physical activity going on in the brain.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good starting point. So, that there is something physical going on, but let's move this a little bit deeper. How is this actually changing anything? So, doing the revision process, doing the memory reconsolidation work, how is this actually changing anything in a person's life? How is this actually solving any problems?
Fantastic. So again, one of the things that Neville talks about is changing your identity. So you need to change who you are in order to experience different results in life. And again, you do that with your imagination and that, but you're also physically changing the structure of your identity in your brain. So part of the foundation, the structure of who we are, is comprised of memories, of implicit memories from childhood. And those change a little bit over the years, but they start and are rooted in childhood. So we have these sort of these memories that determine who I am, how the world works, so that I don't have to think about it as I go about my day. Something happens, or I see something, or I hear something, or someone says something to me, or I read something, or watch something, whatever the case is, the unconscious part of my brain immediately references those memories without my conscious knowledge. The unconscious part of my brain is referencing those implicit memories to determine what this thing means, this experience means, and what it means about me, what it means about the world. and how to respond immediately, again, without thinking. So when you change those memories, then of course the brain is referring to a different structure, a different personality, a different identity. Now, what does this mean? And how do I respond automatically? Again, it's all without conscious engagement. This is all on automatic. And in fact, by the time we consciously become aware of it, it's all happened in the background, which is why it can be so hard to change it in the moment consciously. So the way it directly changes, so to answer the question, is this really
Mm.
doing anything? By changing those implicit childhood memories. So with Neville's revision, it applies to memories in general, and he does say go as far back as you needed, sort of thing. Well, we found that according to the latest in neuroscience, it's childhood, specifically childhood implicit memories, that determine who we are and how the world works. So we use that revision, we use memory reconsolidation to change the those original childhood memories that are forming our identity and everything about us and how the world works for us. Now, and those root beliefs, core beliefs. So you change those, and then you go about your day, and your brain is referring to a different person. So it's referring to a more confident person, for example, or someone who knows their worth and is not frightened of what people will think or whatever those things are. Then automatically and without conscious engagement, without you needing to consciously do anything, you automatically feel the result of those new memories, which means it's natural, it's automatic to you to have different perception, perspective, saying different habits, different decisions, make different decisions, see different opportunities. Your judgment, the way you communicate, everything is affected by those unconscious, implicit memories.
In my own life, just a real brief example for my own life. I know that engaging in Neville's revision was something that I did earlier on, and it was, I was taking what Neville was suggesting and revising. So, one example was a business transaction for me. It was a contract that went south, and through that process, I felt like a loser. I felt bad about that, and it's like, okay, what Neville is saying here is let me revise that whole transaction, and let me see myself winning that contract and getting, revising that information. And I was able to do that. But now how we appropriate, or how we're using the memory reconsolidation techniques now, and what we're doing by going back to implicit memory. Yeah, it was fine for me to revise that initial, or that memory of changing that contract so I could see myself in that winning position. But what really needed to happen, and what I eventually ended up doing, was going back and changing those childhood beliefs that were the foundation of why I didn't land the contract in the first place. That feeling of I'm a loser. I'm not fundamentally a very good business person. I'm not, those fundamental beliefs about not being confident, not being able to speak with confidence. So all of those kind of things, and there were, of course, others that were there, but going back and changing those initial implicit childhood references, then supports the work that I was doing with the revision technique.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to also clarify there. So as you said,
Mm,
you went and changed childhood beliefs, childhood references, and of course that is childhood memories. So
absolutely.
specifically changing revising the actual events in your childhood is what changes the foundation of who you are, how the world works for you. So your identity, yes. So that's a wonderful example. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of moves us into the next question that I have, and I think that a lot of people have, is why is it that this revision process seems to work for some people and not so much for other people?
Yeah, absolutely. And can work for some things for some people and not for other things. It's because it depends on what childhood memories, what implicit childhood memories are running in the background. So for some people, there won't be any contradicting childhood memories, which means
Mhm.
that when they revise, when they use manifestation techniques,
Mhm.
it'll work because the brain is not referring to any contradictions. For others or for other things, there will be contradicting childhood memories that are saying, no, this is not safe, or this is not who I am. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And and that whole notion of that voice running around in the back of your head, as you're doing this process, um, I think that one of the common things that I experienced as I was doing this, I think it's common for other people, is that as you're trying to revise, part of you is like, I get the concept, I just need to revise what's going on, but there's this voice in the back of your head that's saying, but that didn't happen. This isn't
Mhm.
real. All you're really doing right now is fooling yourself. You're just gaslighting yourself. So there's this tug of war going on. So I'm on one hand grunting really hard, trying to make that feeling or get that revise that information, but the other part is standing back there going, "Eh, this isn't real." So
Mhm.
what's going on there, or how do we get beyond that?
Yes, a good question. And so when you are trying to revise a memory and you find your brain saying, "But that's not what happened," aren't I just fooling myself, gaslighting myself? Answer it. Answer it with number one, yes, that's true. It didn't happen that way. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that because it's true, that isn't what originally happened. And the unconscious part of my brain doesn't know that. So the conscious mind knows what originally happened and that this is different, but the unconscious part of the brain does not know that. So when you have those objections, this isn't what happened, uh, it's okay to have those objections. And it's important to recognize that that's the conscious mind with logic and reason, and it's true. And at the same time, you can change that memory because you are literally just changing the pattern in which your neurons are firing. So it's not, it doesn't matter that that's not what originally happened, basically. So when you go and see a movie, you don't sit there going, "Oh, but it's not real. Oh, but that's, dinosaurs can't fly." Or whatever it is, right? You don't need to do that because you know consciously that, but the unconscious part of your brain is still responding as if what you're watching is true. You don't need to sit there and justify that it's not true. So in the same way, does that help,
Yeah.
do you think?
Yeah, it does. And I think another way that I kind of slightly reframe that or see that in my own mind is that, yeah, I'll answer, yes, that's absolutely 100% true. And if it's too much of a stretch to say uh, that, it didn't happen, what I like to focus on it is the fact that it's not happening now in this present moment.
Hmm. Yeah,
And the
that's
only
true.
place the only place that that memory really exists, the only tangible thing about that memory is the neural connections that are happening right now in this moment. So we have this experience or this belief that memory is some sort of a concrete thing, or the past. More importantly, the past is some sort of a concrete thing, and it's solid and it's tangible, and we can't change it, and we need to honor, the past. And it's like, nope. The only thing that exists about the past are these neural connections and the way that we're perceiving it in our brain. I'm like, okay, so if that's really what the past is, I can in fact change the past because it's just neural connections. And I have
Hmm.
the ability to change that right now in this present moment. So I,
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps anything, but it's just another little add to helping to get beyond that objection in the brain.
Yeah, that's an excellent addition. Thank you, Steve. And so, of course, if you've got questions, please let us know in the comments of this video. We would love to answer your questions. We love all of these topics, so we love answering the questions. So if you ever sit there revising and a voice says, "This isn't real, this didn't happen, this won't change anything, it's just imagination," remember this. Memory is not fixed. Identity is not fixed. And imagination is actually physical processes in the brain. So when you revise, you're working with the same mechanism that your brain uses to update experience and who you are. And that's not fantasy, that's neurobiology. So in the description of this video, I'm going to put a bullet point list of 5 points. Print that out or take a screenshot with your phone or copy paste it, whatever. And whenever you think about doing revision, remind yourself, read through those points and remind yourself of them. And that will help you be more consistent, which of course will help it work more effectively for you and for you to get better results. So, so whenever you feel doubt, you can remind yourself of just how powerful this is. Now, if you're interested in seeing revision or memory reconsolidation in action for real life examples, demonstrations, I'll put a link to that playlist in the description as well, and it'll probably be here on the screen somewhere. You can click that and let us know your questions.